Welcome back. Part 2, Square Root Review. We're going to look at some square root equations. We'll look at a couple examples here. So let's go ahead and start off with a basic one. Okay, so you could approach this one of two ways. We could start off by dividing both sides by 4, but 4 doesn't go into 6 evenly, so I would probably hold off on that and just go ahead and square both sides. So we're squaring the 4, which is 16, and then the square cancels out the square root, and we get 36 on the right. And now we're ready to solve for x by dividing by 16. Now remember, I told you I would really like to leave our answers in fraction form. So we're going to reduce this, since 16 does not go into 36 evenly, but we know 2 goes into both of them, 4 goes into both of them. Let's try 4. 4 goes into 36 9 times. 4 goes into 16 4 times. We can't reduce it any further than that. So that would be our answer. Okay, let's take a look at another example. Alright, this time we have, I'm making these up, so these answers will probably not turn out to be very pretty, but you'll get the idea. Okay, so solving this square root equation, remember when solving we undo adding and subtracting first, so we're going to undo minus 5 with plus 5. Okay, we're going to bring down this term. Okay, now we have multiplication here, and I can divide this by 2, and 2 goes into 16 evenly, so I'm going to go ahead and do the division this time. Here we didn't divide by 4 because 4 didn't go into 6 evenly, so the 2's cancel. Okay, now we're going to undo the exponent. So remember that the square root is a half. Well, to get rid of a square root, we're going to square it. So that gives us x plus 1 equals not 16. Whoa, Mr. Kramer is digressing. Wow, 8 times 8. Wow, I can't believe I just did that. Crazy. And now we're going to subtract the 1. And we have our answer. Remember, you can always plug your answer back in and check your work. 63 plus 1 is 64. The square root of 64 is 8. 8 times 2 is 16. 16 minus 5 is 11. Okay, now let's take a look at some inverses. Let's start off with a linear. Okay, so if I wanted to graph this, first of all, we have linear here as the type. We're going to go to the y-intercept of -4, and that's our starting point right there. The slope is -2 over 1, so we're going to go down 2, right 1. Okay, so we're going to get our line. Okay, next thing we want to do is we want to write the equation of the inverse. So don't forget, we switch the x and the y. then we solve for y. So solving for y means to isolate the y, so we're going to undo adding and subtracting first. Undo multiplying and dividing second. So our inverse of y is going to be equal to, okay, this is a negative 2. So this is a 1. So we're going to have negative 1/2 x. And then 4 divided by negative 2 is negative 2. So this is a negative 1/2. And this is negative 2. So our y-intercept is at negative 2. And our slope is down 1, right 2. Down 1, right 2. Okay. And there is your inverse. So the inverse of a linear is a linear function. All right, let's move on to a quadratic. So we know it's a quadratic because the power is 2. Graphing it, we're down 5. And our a value is 1, so we go over 1, up 1, over 1, up 1. Okay. To get our inverse, we switch the x and the y. We solve for y, so we undo adding and subtracting first. And take care of the exponent here. So to undo squaring, we're going to square root. So our inverse of y is the square root of x plus 5. So in order to graph this square root function, we're going to move 5 units to the left. So from the center, we're going to go left 5. And our a value is 1. So from this point, we go over 1 and up 1. And we have our inverse. Now that's just half of it. That's the positive part. Don't forget the negative part. So over 1, down 1. Probably a little bit high on that side there. Okay. So that's how, and the inverse of a quadratic is a square root function. And vice versa is true. The inverse of a square root is a quadratic. So study these problems and be ready for your test, your retest on Friday. See you guys tomorrow.